Okay, hey, I'm gonna get started now. This is Walter from iWalter. You know what? After everything I did, I should have checked the time or the date. But the time is like for me, it's almost 2:30 a.m. and it's the 27th of September. So it's hard to believe, that October is right around the corner, and I'm trying to figure out how the balance, like my video and other stuff. So here I am. I'm doing a show. And let me just chuck this out for a minute. Thought I got rid of all my extra stuff. You know what? The other day, I have it underneath my desk, which you can't see. There was a couple games that guys at work were talking about. Some games, Wii Nintendo Wii, and I was like, well, I've never had one. So I don't know if you guys can see this at home, but hold it up. It's I got it for like really cheap on eBay. It's a Resident Evil game controller. It's just basically the gun itself, and then you put the controller in there. It comes out. It was blinking right now, so I got an extra one because that one I got. It was a used system. You can't buy these new. They've been out of circulation probably for almost 18 years now. Oh, about 10 years. So I didn't want to get a regular one. I got a Nintendo Wii. I'm going to show everybody at home, the folks. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of small. I'll put up to my hand. See my hand? It's not that big, but it's a Nintendo Wii. And it's pretty neat. It's cheap because it was basically a stripped-down model of it's a mini, the regular one. And then it came with a controller and stuff, which I had to order because it didn't come with it. It was used, but came in the box. Why did you buy it, Walter? To waste more money? Well, that's like one way of looking at it. The other thing was there was a couple games that I actually liked. One called House of the Dead, and believe it or not, I really enjoyed playing that back in the day. God, I can't believe it was over 10 years ago, probably. Because I remember seeing House of the Dead in the arcade. No, it was in the movie theater, and it was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. But shouldn't this game have, shouldn't it have died out like years ago? Because this was actually the game came out like in the late '90s, and it was still circulating in arcades and stuff. So it was pretty funny. Well, not arcades, but in movie theaters and down the shore. If you went down to where was it? Down to arcade in New Jersey. One of the arcades that are still around, which I think the only one is in Atlantic City. No. Was it Atlantic City? Ocean City, I believe. Not Maryland, but Ocean City, New Jersey. They had that game in there, I think, too. And God, it brought back old times. I mean, the game is like over 20-some years old now. But I end up like I think I saw it over at Oaks Movie Theater one time. I was like, wow, this looks really cool. I was waiting for a movie. I popped in a couple quarters. I was like, wow, this is really fun. This looks really crappy because, that was way beyond that game's lifespan. But then it came out for consoles over the years, and the last one it was actually placed on was the Nintendo Wii. And by the way, the pictures in the background, I have like one up there, one down here, and one. Let me see if I can do this correctly. I can't point correctly. Well, I'm kind of getting it, but there's a picture of different stories I want to talk about. That's not everything. In fact, that's not the main focus of tonight, but at this late hour, or early morning hour, depends how you look at it. But it is out there. For one thing is American Werewolf. They're going to put out, I guess, an anniversary edition or something. I'll pull that up in a moment. And the picture there is what you're going to get. And that's September 24th of, well, wait. What did I say? That must have came out then. Yeah, that came out over this past week. So I didn't know that, so because I'm out of touch. I'm out of everything, out of my mind since I've had this job. It was funny yesterday because I was like 10 minutes late going to work. And there was a guy, he's like my age, and he was like 14 minutes late, and this guy is like never late. So it was like, what, I felt really bad. I was like, crap, I've been late twice this week going to my job. This one guy, he was like, yeah, too much personal things going on at home. But I think it's more than that. You just get tired of a job you really don't like. It's only so long you can do it before you say, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm almost trying to get myself fired. Sorry about that. And it's something I can't afford right now. I can't afford to get fired. So, I did have like a topic of interest that I came up with. I was watching like every night I get home late, even though I have them on a box set of Perry Mason. I still like watching them, even though they're repeats or reruns, whatever you want to call it, on Me TV. And it's Channel 2 around here. So, yeah, I tried to catch those, and it was funny because Dick Clark was on. He was the bad guy on the very last one I watched on Friday night. And the guy who plays Uncle Fester was in an episode. It was like I could tell by his voice. Like, the man shaved his head when he did Addams Family, but in this particular episode, he had his hair grown in, but it was very little. It was only on the sides. He had that chrome dome. But his voice was so distinctive. It was like, yeah, that's the guy who played Uncle Fester. Without a doubt, you could tell it was him. Gary Collins, I believe his name is Gary Collins. He played Dr. Rhodes on a show called The Sixth Sense. But before that, or after that, it ended up being incorporated, those episodes from The Sixth Sense, in case Matt didn't know that, into Night Gallery. And it was the one with the guy with the psychic ability and things, blonde-haired guy. And I told people, I said, he had his own talk show, the guy Gary Collins, for years, too. So a lot of people don't know that. I remember watching. I was a big Gary Collins fan from Night Gallery. And when I found out that he had his own show, and it didn't do well, it had low ratings. It wasn't even that it was a horrible show. It just didn't get any ratings, called The Sixth Sense. So they just incorporated it into being Night Galleries. In fact, Rod Serling, and he had to go back and edit those in, like with a beginning and end with being part of Night Gallery on the reruns. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, I forget if I told Matt this, but I had a little bit of a quiz for him, him being a horror fan like myself, if he actually knew the character in Halloween 2 of Ben Tramer. Do you know who Ben Tramer was in Halloween 2? Because I knew the character in the movie. I'm gonna ruin it right now. But Ben Tramer was the guy who, in Halloween 2, the police officers were looking for Michael Myers, and Ben Tramer was the drunk kid who was walking, and then the cops said, hey, you got to stop. So the guy ran off, and he got hit and burned alive by the cop car hitting the truck, and Ben Tramer had what looked like Michael Myers mask, but it really wasn't. It's now known as the Ben Tramer mask. It's basically it's the same mask that you would see Michael would wear, Michael Myers, which is actually what do you call it? It's the guy from Star Trek. Why I don't know his name. This is really weird. I can't think of his name right now. The one who overacts. Oh, Walter, you're going to try to have to pull this up in the middle of a podcast. This is not cool. This is actually pretty bad. William Shatner. I just remembered as I was ready to pull it up. That's really embarrassing. Oh, by the way, I'm looking at a picture right now. There is Robert Peterson, is that correct? He was actually supposed to be they were they were filming a new Batman movie, and Robert Peterson, he played in Twilight. He played the main vampire. Um, he's supposed to be Batman, but he came down with the coronavirus. So right now, that's been put on a hold. Now I don't know if they're going to replace him, but yeah, as far as we know now, yeah, that's not being shot. So anyway, iHorror.com. There was a crap load of stuff on there, so I posted it all on my Facebook page. Sorry, I'm a little itchy right now. And they're talking about, which I'm kind of psyched about, they were showing today on Elroy channel. I don't get cable. My parents do. My dad took my cable box out of my room. I shouldn't be that upset about it, but it kind of does annoy me a little bit, but he's paying a lot more than just my cable bill at this point because I'm not making that much money. In fact, I get paid bi-weekly. By the second week of my bi-weekly paycheck, I am scraping in the negative numbers. Probably by that this coming Monday, I will be. I have a whole week to go without pay. So anyway, my mom had on. She had on this Elroy channel. They're showing all these horror movies already. Now, next month, I forget what channel it is, cable channel. That's going to really suck. I might have to pick up. I think it's AMC. Maybe for the month, I'll just pick up. This is like $20 deal a month. You can get basic cable channels on this thing called Philo, I believe. I might just pick it up just to get, the month of horror movies on AMC, because that's one of the channels you will get. It's $20 a month. I'll just do it for the month and get rid of it. I haven't done it yet, but it's probably not a bad idea. Well, I don't have the money. I know that. So anyway, even though who made Scream? I get all these horror directors kind of confused. There is Sean Cunningham, who was well known for Friday the 13th. He did a few of them. He didn't just do the first one. There was many directors, but Sean Cunningham, it's his puppy, so he owns this exclusive rights. So out of those 11 or 12 films made of Friday the 13th, Sean Cunningham makes sure to get his name in other episode or other movies. Now, the person who did Nightmare on Elm Street, that's Wes Craven. There's Wes Craven. Yeah, it was Wes Craven, right? I believe he did Scream. Anyway, he's passed away, but they're talking about making a Scream 5. Behind the scenes photos reveal Sydney Prescott and the new logo, but there's going to be, I guess, another Scream. There was a Scream TV series. The first season was actually pretty damn good. I liked it. But, yeah, they made a season 2, and I think I watched that or whatever. I can't remember what happened, but they kind of made it politically correct, and it was like, yeah, this is pretty bad, so I didn't bother to watch it. Anyway, I don't know if there's going to be any cameos, because the one profile picture or some picture of one of the actresses looks like she will be doing I think it's Neve Campbell. Is that who it is? Because I thought I saw it in here. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Neve Campbell as Sydney Prescott in her return. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. They're going to make another Scream movie. I liked those. I thought they were fun to watch. They were pretty, a little kind of like a comedy horror, but they were definitely entertaining. I liked them. So yeah, they're bringing that back. You know what? If you have Netflix, I don't have the articles up. They made this series from a woman who plays in almost every season of American Horror Story, who was playing, because there was a character she played similar in one of the seasons of American Horror Story. I forget the actress's name, But she's in a series now on Netflix where she's playing Nurse Ratched. So 2 people at my job said, isn't Nurse Ratched from the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Which, by the way, that's going to be out in the theaters soon, too, just in case you didn't know, as an anniversary thing. So if you check online, you can find that. Well, they said, isn't Nurse Ratched from the movie, the movie of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? It's like, I really don't know. I've never seen the film, so I couldn't tell you. But apparently it is. It's based upon the character from the movie of, American Horror Story. I apologize. Of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So maybe when when I'm all over the place tonight. Maybe when the anniversary date where it's in the theaters for so long, because, it's, I don't know, 50 years old or 40 years old. When that comes up, I should go see that. Then I can find out what everybody's saying. Oh, that's who Nurse Ratched is. But yeah, there's a series on Netflix. Matt, if you have that, you might want to check that out. Okay, I pulled this up real quick because I'm looking at it now on the iHorror.com. American Werewolf in London comes to impressive 4K Blu-ray set. So you can still play. You don't need it, but it comes with, on a bonus Blu-ray, there are over 6 hours of audio visual extras, among other things, and a 100-page book, Man or Monster of the film's history. So, Matt, I know you're a big fan of American Werewolf in London. Well, they put out a special box set with extras, lots of extras, lots of discs, and you can get that. It came out on the 24th, so that sounds pretty cool. To me, it seems pretty cool. Probably it's just a waste of money, I'm sure. But, the reason on my little captions, that's why there's the Scream, that's why there's the thing on American Horror Story, American Werewolf in London. I keep on saying that over and over again. The other picture I have up in my background, or whatever you want to call it, is about Halloween movies. Well, guess what? They're going to put those in the drive-in movie theaters this coming October. So keep your eyes peeled. And good and bad, unfortunately, it's going to be all the Michael Myers movies. The one I would love to see in the movie theater, though, the one I would actually really like to see, believe it or not, is Halloween 3. I was going to put a picture in there of that, but I did not on the background. And I could probably slap one in there as I'm recording, but I kind of don't want to ruin things at this point. And I'm already almost 20 minutes into the show. So, yeah, it says Cinelife Entertainment has teamed with Trancas International Films and Compass International Productions to bring Halloween back into the drive-in, and the original isn't coming by itself. It's going to be, unfortunately, Halloween Returns, the return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, the revenge of Michael Myers. Why not Halloween 3? Now, the guy who owns the rights to all the Halloweens, yes, it's a John Carpenter film, but the gentleman who made it, he's got a really strange name. He is Muslim. And you see his name in the beginning of every Halloween movie because the guy was really smart. He cashed in from the very first film. Like, yeah, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill made the film, but the producer was this guy, which it looks like Mustasha or something like that, Akkad. Or however you say that, that man has the rights. I think he passed away, but those films are under his umbrella. I mean, he's the producer of all these films. So that man is worth a bundle of money. And it says over 40 years of this film. So 40 years. Yes, it is a John Carpenter film. In fact, John Carpenter made the new one. But quite honestly, the whole enterprise, or whatever you want to call it, of these films is actually owned by that guy with the name I cannot pronounce. And I remember I've seen that even on the very first film. It's like, who's this mustache guy or mustacha? But yeah, he's the guy who cashed in on this. And when the movies were made beyond Halloween 3, he owned the rights. So, hey, he allowed for the reboot of Halloween in Halloween 4. That was his idea. Because that man, hey, I'm here to make money. He kind of ruined the whole premise of the film work, but whatever. So just in case you wanted to know that, I just wanted to point that out. Okay, yeah, that last picture, it's on the left-hand side of your view screen. And it's guys dumping a bunch of ballots. And that one really got my attention. Military ballots found in the trash in Pennsylvania. All were Trump votes. So, yeah, and it was quite a bit. So that picture, I wonder if I'm kind of pointing correctly. On the left-hand side, on the bottom, that's what that story is about. This is on Monday, September 21st, 2020. Lutheran County District Attorney Stephanie, it doesn't matter. The Office United States Attorney, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Scranton Residence Office, began an inquiry into the report of potential issues with small numbers of mail-in ballots at the Lutheran County Board of Elections. Well, they were all trashed. And I thought they gave the number in this story. I don't see it now, but it was like thousands of Trump's votes for Trump were tossed. They were chucked in the garbage can. And, mail-in ballots from military people serving overseas were found in the trash in Pennsylvania. The ballots were discovered during an investigation into election issues in Lutheran County, Pennsylvania. And it says they were all votes for President Trump. So it doesn't surprise me. It's just really appalling, though. It really is. I kind of, matter, you already know about this, so it's not something you're not, you've heard this, you've heard it from my mouth instead of hear it from a podcast. But over the years, I would tell you, I said, hey, there's a lot of people moving in. We already had this discussion through conversing through voice text. So it's not directly to you, Matt, or the voice text are, and the voice text back and your response are directly to me. But, I said this has been serious for years. I mean, I have in my pile of stories at least 3 horrible car accidents from people who are drag racing and careless. One was with a child that got ran over. Another one was a hit and run. But most of these people are from out of state. They move into Pennsylvania. And a lot of them are coming from New York. Yeah, they're coming from other areas. And it's not just a small percentage. It's a large amount of people, a large amount. So anyway, last night I was kind of like shuffling through stories. And it was on CBS News because I have all the news sources, good or bad, on my links on Facebook. So I can just pull it up and pull up stories when I need them. And then I just bookmark them to, like I am now, to read later. So it says on CBS Philly News, new research shows thousands of people are moving to Philadelphia from New York City. So I remember I mentioned this. We had this conversing back and forth through voice text, but I'm not going to let this one ride, Matt, because I said for many years it's a bit out of hand. And it actually goes on to say it's not just Philly, it's the counties outside almost. Some are calling it a migration. This is what it's saying. New research shows thousands of people are moving to Philadelphia from New York City. It gives a number too, and I think it was like, let me see if I can just cut to that. But it's causing the cost of living in the area I live in King of Prussia area, Norristown area. It's going up, and it's getting very hard to live because Pennsylvania is like the new New York. I made a joke one time. I made a joke T-shirt with it because Jersey's another place where I put. Oh no, it was New York. I put the image of Pennsylvania on I got it silk screened onto a T-shirt. So I put the image of the keystone or whatever, not even the keystone, the shape of our state, the way it would look on a map. And then I put in the middle there as a joke, I put, you got, I love New York. I put I love New York, and like nobody got the joke, but it's not a joke. It's really serious. We got so many New Yorkers in Philadelphia. It's just out of control out in Pennsylvania. It says roughly 7,500 people moved from York's 5 boroughs to Philadelphia from February to September, according to Unicast, a location server company that's about twice as many of Philadelphia who went to New York. It's twice as many. So some people left Philadelphia to go to New York, but twice that amount have left New York to come to Philly and the outskirts of New York, Philly. Excuse me. And I've noticed this. King of Prussia has put up all these apartment complexes and stuff, and the traffic is just out of control anymore. It really is around here. And here it says it. New apartments going up in Philly's Spring Garden section are just some of hundreds of new homes being built across the city right now. Now, I just want to let you know, because a friend said this too, why New Yorkers are moving out of New York. One, they vote Democrat, so their taxes are out of control. And really just, I can't say any other way. So they're buying a home they would buy in New York would cost them close to $1 million or $500,000 or $500,000, at least $500,000. They can buy that same home in Pennsylvania around where I live, and it probably costs them $250,000. So it's a no-brainer for them. But you know what? You're also getting the New York attitude around here, and in droves, not just a few. I mean, I just told you, 750,000 people moved out of New York City to come to live in Pennsylvania. That's a lot. If you're wondering who's renting or buying them, consider this. Since 2015, the city of brotherly love has been gaining more people moving from the Big Apple than moving the opposite direction, according to the Center City District. And you know what they did, by the way? The gallery, they redid that. Most have got destroyed probably from these protests. But the gallery put more New York-style stores in Center City. And you know why they did that? Because there's more New Yorkers now living in Pennsylvania and also in Philadelphia. And, the thing is, it's raising the cost of living around here. It's just out of control. It goes on. It tells you, again, roughly 7,500 people moved from New York's 5 boroughs to Philadelphia, again. Developers also are eyeing Philly. Yeah, so anyway, it says this rendering shows that Penn's Landing is expected to look like they have a sketch. I should have threw that in there. Penn's Landing is going to look like they have a sketch of how it's going to change after a New York-based company called Durst Organization won a $2.2 billion bid this month to build new parks, restaurants, and homes there. Not in New York, but in Philadelphia. So New York is repaving Philadelphia and Pennsylvania to make Philly look like New York. That's really, to me, that's really bad. The very last sentence in this story says, still, what Philadelphia and New York both have in common is both are losing renters to the suburbs. So let me say that again, read what I just read. Both Philadelphia and New York have one thing in common. They're losing renters to the suburbs. So, Matt, this is the other thing I want you to hear because, it says the very last sentence on this article says that these people moving out of the city, the people coming from New York and Philadelphia, but the people moving down from New York aren't stopping in Philly. They're going to the suburbs. Technically, where we live is the outskirts of Philly. We're actually considered part, because Philly has kind of expanded on housing and other things. So we are technically part of Philly. Like when you say, oh, yeah, I live in Norristown, but people look at it as, well, you live on the suburbs of Philly, so you're part of Philly. No, we're not. But, yeah, we get a lot of New Yorkers who are buying up the housing around here. And it shows in every aspect around here. It's not like a quiet place to live as it used to be. It's horrible. It's really, really bad. So anyway, PJ Media. Did I put that picture on there? I'm trying to look. No, I did not. I had it up. I thought I removed it. There was a story that was going to be also plastered on there, but I accidentally removed it. Now, what's so big about that? Idaho Christians arrested for singing hymns maskless outside City Hall in county with 0 COVID deaths. So that whole thing of wear a mask, it is a whole propaganda thing. I mean, there's no way around it. So it's funny. It says it seems Moscow, Idaho, is going the way of its Soviet namesake. So this place is called Moscow, Idaho. They were just doing peaceful. Now, this is not just saying this. This was true because they show the video, and at first it was like, well, this has got to be kind of dumb. So I watched part of it, and it was like, it went from, in my mind, to being something stupid to, this is really serious. Like, our freedom is getting taken away. These protests are just out of control with the Black Lives Matter. Now, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned to Matt, but I did mention to my friend Todd that my mother told me there was protest on the street corner near down the road from our house. And any of these quote-unquote Black Lives Matter protests, because they had signs that Black Lives Matter, majority, about 99% of the people are white. And they got 1 or 2, maybe 3 folks that are black. And the bottom line is these protests are not peaceful. They become very out of control. And eventually it leads to businesses getting damaged. So something like that must have happened because every night during the week, after it got around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, every single day there was protest in front of a Walgreens down the street from my house. And my mother said, well, the police showed up one day finally after about a month or so of this nonsense going on. And I actually felt very uncomfortable because I only go in the Walgreens once in a blue moon. I had to go in there more often because everything around where I live was shut down because of the coronavirus scare. And then eventually it started opening, but the only place open when everything else was closed was Walgreens. And who wants to go in there when you got a bunch of protesters? Because one of them, I parked way across the street practically from the Walgreens just because I didn't want to be involved or get stopped by these protesters. One of them were hovering around my car. And I was like smoking a cigarette. And I was like, why are you doing that? I'm not even near Walgreens. You're monopolizing. You're scaring people off. I mean, people are honking their horn because they said, oh, honk your horn. if you believe in Black Lives Matter. So people are doing that, but people generally do one thing and act in another way. Nobody was going around that Walgreens. They were losing business. It was obvious. So my mother said, yeah, she saw the police out there one time and broke it up, and they never came back so far. Now, when Trump gets reelected, that might change. I hope not. So anyway, so something obviously must have happened because the police were finally called in and they broke that up. But you know how long that had taken? A long time. So this, if you watch the video, it's on PJ Media. It's on my Facebook page. It's on my Twitter. If you don't have either one, I can gladly send you an email or a link, whatever you want, and you can see this arrest where they put handcuffs on these folks because they didn't have masks on, and they weren't doing anything wrong. They were doing nothing wrong. So that's like, to me, that's really scary. Now, I'm not a practicing Christian. I'm agnostic. But when you see stuff like that, it is extremely, extremely scary. That just I just don't understand that. Alrighty, because I have a bunch of stories here and there. They're kind of scattered out. I never got to the point what I wanted to actually do the podcast on. It was just like food for thought, because I was watching. I'll have to try to pull it up on my phone. I hope it doesn't affect my podcast, because I want to see if I can find it. Because what I do is I take screenshots on my phone of, like, different TV shows. Like, I can go back. Excuse me. That's all. There was an Alfred Hitchcock I really liked too. But yeah, this one Twilight Zone. I was going to look it up, but I actually did not. So I'm going to go astray for a minute. But the Twilight Zone was, I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, because I did do a screenshot just to remember the name of the episode. But it was with doublegangers. Somebody who is from another plane, lateral plane, another dimension, who looks identical to you, according to the episode, who's doesn't want to be in the background or in another dimension. They want to be in our world. That was what this episode consisted of. So that was really cool. And I didn't get a picture of that. Now, there was another one, though. That was the one. Okay, because I'm getting myself confused. There was like a couple really good episodes. That one was actually gave me the heebie-jeebies. That one with the doubleganger. It was a woman in a bus stop. She was changing her career to something else. I'm still looking to see if I had taken a screenshot of the other one. And she, these people saying, you're asking the same questions over and over again. You asked like 5 minutes. She's waiting for a bus that came late, and the guy at the bus stop, this old man, said, "You've been up here like 3 times already. It's not going to change when the bus is going to come." And lo and behold, at the very end of the episode, somebody thinks she's crazy, so they call the police and get her locked up in a sanitarium. But you find out that the person who actually called the police on her was a guy who plays on the show. The actor played on this show called Adam 12. God, I used to watch that show. So he meets his doubleganger at the very end of the episode. But it was really freaky. That was one that I wanted to bring to the table. Like a couple of the Twilight Zones I was watching during the course of the week. The one actually I wanted to just do a whole episode on, an iWalter, though, because that was a different one, which I totally forgot about, was this man who, because a guy I work with said, "You don't know about that?" Where you get projected in the future or the past for like a moment. Like you're you're put like the episode of Twilight Zone. There was this pilot, a British pilot, who ends up 40 years into the future, and he doesn't know why he ended up like he's a British pilot. He ends up on an airbase, an American airbase, 40 years in the future, and he finds out the reason he was put in the future was that he needed to go back to the past to save somebody's life, a fellow air pilot, or what do you call it? And not in the Air Force, it was the British Air Force. I know I'm jumping around, but the whole gist of that was he was a deserter of his troops or whatever. He was British. I wonder if I can find that and put some name to that story. So, yeah, so he figured like he had one moment that he did something that was a heroic act by giving his life to save a man who was going to save millions of lives. So let's see if I can find that. Sorry, I'm off the mic right now. British pilot goes 40 years into the future. Sorry about that. My voice is going to go down. I should be able to find it. Ah, it worked. The Last Flight was the name of the episode. 1960 was that episode. So I hope this doesn't start playing. Okay, trying to find its way home after a dogfight in World War I. This will make more sense now. This was a Twilight Zone episode. Royal Flying Corps Lieutenant William Terrence Decker lands in U.S. Air Force Base 42 years in the future. No one believes him when he claims that he's from 1917, thinking that someone is trying to put one over on him. Decker admits that before suddenly leaping into the future, he was actually flying away from a serial encounter and leaving his friend in a lurch. He finds out, though, in the future that this friend he needed to go back in time and save because his friend is going to become also a hero by saving many civilians' lives from the Germans. Yeah, it says he also realized that he may have an opportunity to rectify the situation that which he had created. It's a really good episode. So that's what I wanted to do. I was like, this was kind of rambled in my mind after watching this episode of The Twilight Zone. Again, it was 1960. It was season 1, episode 18, The Last Flight. And the reason that one in particular, because the guy Joe also watched, a guy I work with, his name's Joe Shields, watched it. He said, so you never heard about the time slip dilemma, the time slip where somebody either goes, generally they go in the past. In this particular situation, the guy went into the future. And I said, no, I've never heard of time slips. And the only time I've heard the word terminology use of time slip was in a Doctor Who episode with Colin Baker. Well, I thought about that, and I even asked Joe Shields, my friend at work, I said, Joe, what if you could actually go back in time and change the situation if it could happen? Not that it would, but if it could happen. Just say that time slips, it can't be proven. Some people say, yes, it has happened, but there's no way to prove that it happened. Just say, hypothetically, I asked Joe, what if it happened? Would you do it? Would you change your past? And he said no, because there would be repercussions. Like in that episode, there was a lot of repercussions, but the repercussions were positive. It saved millions of people's lives. My thing was, what if I could go back in time and change, my past? Because some things I've done that made me suffer in my life, if I would change it to better myself, I could also cause, when you drop a pebble into a puddle or a pond and it gets that ripple effect. Well, that ripple effect could improve my life, but it could also ruin other people's lives that you may have encountered. So I wanted to do a whole episode on that, just to kind of put that thought, which I now have, placed it in people's heads, I hope. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting to, imagine that. Imagine if it really does exist. I'm not saying it does. I'm not saying it doesn't. It's just way too far-fetched for many people to swallow that maybe there's a possibility that time is not linear, that it could be, because I think, what was it? It was Einstein came up with a theory that technically maybe, or his thoughts were, maybe time is not linear. It's not just one straight line. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, it's been touched upon, but just say it's not a linear line, that what I'm doing right now, it's going to be gone once I'm done the show. And the only thing is, you're going to hear what I've done days, months, years from now. But just say that I could go back to when I'm doing this podcast in the future, that I could go back and be at this point again. That things don't just go in a linear line, that they are in almost like a cone shape, that you can actually reach over and touch the past or the future, that it's not one linear line. Just say you could do that. Take your mind out of your safety zone and just imagine that. Even you, Matt, like you could go back 30 years and tell little Matt, don't do this, or don't make this decision, or maybe do this differently. If you could do that, would you do that? Like me, I think if the temptation was there that I could go back to my past self, one thing I would do is people that would bully me in high school, I think I would make sure that did not happen. But you know what? That would start a ripple effect too. Say Big Walter had taken care of little Walter's problems of people who bullied him by, making sure that would not happen by taking care of it at where I stand now. That could change a lot. That could change an awful lot. But how many other lives would I affect by doing so? That is my question. It's just a hypothetical question. Hey, it's in the background on Bloody Disgusted. I have the story I wanted to read next. I'm going to cut this short because I'm starting to get a headache from the weather and me drinking all this iced tea. I don't know if I ever showed this on the screen. Maybe I will. It's Berry Mead iced tea. You probably can't see it. It's probably too small, so I'm just pointing that out. But yeah, I see in the background that, hey, if you're a big fan on Netflix of Stranger Things, I liked it. I liked all 3 seasons. They are going to start to continue filming the 4th season. There will be a 4th season. Just for those who may listen in, it's like, wow. So there's a story on Bloody Disgusting about that. But before I go there, I'm kind of like iffy, but there were some video games. I remember I worked at a place called Electronics Boutique in King of Prussia years ago. One of my jobs. And one of the big things back then, that was like in the late 90s, I believe. Maybe earlier than that, was consoles and this video game called Resident Evil. And I always try to play it and never got too far. And now I'm like, kind of like, obviously, because I have, I'll show you again. That's a Resident Evil gun emblem for the Wii Mini I got. I'll show you that again. I'm not going to... let me see if I can do that anyway. Yeah, so I kind of got into Resident Evil a bit, and here and there. Start the games, I get stuck after a while, because there's a lot of puzzles you got to figure out in the game. It's a horror game, video game, but they're fun. They get a little aggravating after a while. So anyway, there was a story. It says Netflix reveals new CG animated film Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. So I'm kind of like curious. I don't like cartoon movies and series and stuff like that, but that one I probably would watch. Because I did kind of like a couple of the Resident Evil films. They weren't that great. They had nothing to do with the storyline in the video games, but they're fun. They're fun to play, and they will keep you for hours. They waste many hours of your time as you play them. Trust me, I can vouch for that. So let me go forward and look at this Stranger Things Bloody Disgusting story. Stranger Things Season 4 production update. Netflix targets September 28th start date. Now, that's start date for filming, because the filming stopped because of the coronavirus. So, yeah, I believe that's what it is. It says deadline, reporting that usually popular. It is really good. Targeting Monday, September 28th to resume shooting its upcoming fourth season in Georgia. Now, Georgia does shoot a lot. That's pretty weird. They're shooting in Georgia. Huh. Because I've been down there. I was down in Covington, Georgia. God, that was a long time ago now. That was really fun, too. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. But they're going to be filming. I don't want to use the word shooting, but they're going to be filming the next season of Stranger Things. That's a really cool show. I don't know, Matt, if you watched it. You know what? There's a funny thing I sent to a couple people. I thought it was hilarious. Really hot chick. PS5 pre-order. It's on YouTube, and it's called, let's see, PS5 pre-order / PS PlayStation Girl. She is really hot, this woman. Looks like she's got implants. But, yeah, she is the PlayStation pre-order console. It's like a gag video on YouTube. It was hilarious. The fact that she was hot definitely helps. How long am I going for? I'm almost an hour now, and I had all these stories lined up. So why am I bringing that up now? Well, the reason I'm bringing that up was somebody at work said that the PlayStation pre-order sold out in 4 minutes. And it was like, really? That's kind of crazy. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. It's a different story. I thought I stopped that from happening. Apparently not. Let me turn down let me see if that works, if I'm getting a feed off my thing. I hope I am. Well, I'm turning it down a little bit. You know what? I better not. I'll just take chances. Oh, wow. So, yeah, I'm going to see if I can find where the story was hidden. But, yeah, it actually sold out in not 5 minutes, but believe it or not, it sold out in 8 minutes, which is still kind of crazy. It is really crazy. So I'm trying to go because some of these stories I've already read, and I double posted them for myself to read. And, yeah, let's see. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy that the console, both systems, but mainly, yeah, I must have shut it down. So I'm going to try to pull it up again, the PlayStation Store, by opening up another window. But yeah, it was some story that said, yeah, actually, I wonder if it's on my Facebook page. You know what's going to happen there. I'm going to create problems. I know it for most people, Matt, it's definitely no interest to you, but it's just a point. Okay, here we go. I just hope it doesn't have any loud background, whatever. It's a British paper that actually posted it, but this is globally. Globally, that's the other thing. You have a coronavirus going on where everything was shut down. That wasn't necessary, but it was shut down. People were panicking. They have to wear a face mask. They can't go out to work. They can't do this. They can't do that. They can't leave their house. Businesses have been closing down left and right. I have a friend who works at at Office Max or Office Depot, something like that. He's gonna lose his job. I had posted. I should just pull that up right now. It's just a screenshot or whatever. Where Bed Bath & Beyond, they're closing a bunch of those down. They're sinking under now because of this damn coronavirus thing of closing businesses down and limiting who can go into the store. It's really ruined a lot of businesses. So anyway, yeah, there was a story from the Sun. That's a UK paper online. It says, stock shock. Will there be more PS5 orders? PlayStation's latest console sells out in minutes. That was on the 23rd. Major retailers across the globe opened up pre-orders for the PlayStation 5 yesterday, which now is a couple days ago, sparking a flurry of online purchases that led to most shops selling out within minutes. Now, I thought they said 8 minutes in the UK. It was 10 minutes in the UK, and it was like 4 minutes probably in the US. Now, there was one place you can do a pre-order from, which I kind of wish not to do. It's Target, because they had them in stock. Those damn consoles are like $500 though, so that's a lot of money. So yeah, I mean, usually stuff sells out like that when you get stuff from Apple. Probably more so when Steve Jobs was alive, but you don't get that anymore. But yeah, there is the launch or pre-order. It comes out in November, so it's like a couple weeks away. Right after election, believe it or not, the consoles will be released. So yeah, you could order either a PlayStation 5 or the new Xbox Series Series X. It's called Series X. Both are about $500. And believe it or not, that being said, the PS5, actually I think, let me correct myself, I believe the Series X from Xbox is actually $100 cheaper. It's still really expensive, but it's $100 cheaper. Because what happens is one company sees, okay, what are you going to put your price at? And we're going to undersell you, or we're going to cut our throats by underselling the console so we can get more sales. So that's what they usually do, Microsoft and also Sony. So, yeah, even with that, I mean, a costly console that's $500. Now, in the PC world, $500, you couldn't even buy a graphics card for your computer, a gaming graphics card. But for people that don't have that kind of money and don't have a powerful gaming computer, $500 is, no matter how you look at it, it's a lot of money. And it's sold out. Now, I heard somebody said in the U.S. it sold out in 4 minutes, but in the U.K., the console sold out in 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. That's really fast. And my point is, where do you get this freaking money for? Now, you don't put all the money down, but when it comes to jobs and opening up businesses, that's not a big deal. When it comes to video game consoles, yeah, that's a big deal. That's pretty bad. And that's coming from my voice, or my mouth. That's even worse. So I just had to mention that. I hope this is going through. Yeah, I'm going to, because what am I at right now? I'm actually heading towards an hour. Oh, that noisy sound you heard in the background when I was trying to pull up stories, that was on Jackie Stallone. Matt, I don't know if you knew this, but this week, Sylvester Stallone's mom passed away. She had major plastic surgery, and really bad plastic surgery. She looks horrible, but she was 98 years old. I think she was always on Howard Stern, wasn't she, all the time, Jackie Stallone? But yeah, she passed away. God rest her soul, but she passed away. She was 98 years old once again. I'm going to go through this quickly because it is going on like an hour now. I didn't think I was going to be able. I thought it was going to be like a 10-minute. I swear, I thought it was going to be a 10-minute show. And heads up, if everybody can hear me, I have a piece from Matt. Matt, I'm going to play it, but unfortunately, it's going to be in post. I'll put it in because for some reason the audio is not going through correctly. So, I've said this before. We get a lot more people in this area, and there was at least 3 stories within one day of accidents in Philadelphia, people just drag racing and stuff. That's the kind of thing. It's always been going on in Philadelphia, but it's gotten far worse, far, far worse. So I'm going to go through these stories really quickly. This was actually in Lansdale. A young boy hospitalized after being struck by a car on Main Street, Lansdale. That was on the September 23rd. I'm not going to use the other word because I always get it wrong, but a motorized, I'll try to say vehicle because it doesn't say car. It could be an SUV or whatever. But a hit and run. That was one story. That was the 23rd. Norristown man faces jail for leaving 2 scenes of 2 car crashes. And the man had a foreign name, and I'll leave it at that. Or no. One of these people from Lower Providence, too. 2 different incidents that he was driving too fast. Timothy Williams Jr. 2 car accidents, and the second one, he was trying to escape from the police, and they had his license, obviously, so he's serving time now. It says Williams also faces 12 months license suspension, and he must pay back from all the damage he did, punitive damages he did, reaching what he has to pay back for all the car damages the damage he did was $17,000, over almost $18,000 in connection with damages he caused to victims' cars and properties during the 2 incidents. One was he made an illegal U-turn in the intersection of Egypt Road and Willowbrook Drive. And I don't know where, there was another one in Lower Providence, or unless that was Lower Providence. But yeah, it was 2 different incidents. And yeah, it's a whole story. I can send anyone, Matt, interested. I probably already did. But that was incident number 2, and that happened like recently. And here's another story. This one's dated September 23rd. This is a different one, though. So these are different incidents. Philadelphia police investigating 2-vehicle crash involving off-duty officer in West Philadelphia. Next story. Actually, I want to read that one, too. Oh, okay. Another story happened on the 25th. Philadelphia police, violent wreck on Ben Franklin Parkway leaves man dead and woman injured because they were drag racing. I mean, you heard about this stuff, but not as often as you do now. And here's another story from, it says, left her there like a dog. Philadelphia police searching for a hit-and-run driver who killed a mother of 3. That's like 4 stories already of car accidents. And a lot of these people aren't from around here. They are now. They moved into this area. But it's like 4 stories I've read with incidents of people getting hit or killed or whatever. And a lot of these people are people moving in to the state of Pennsylvania from probably the surrounding areas, meaning New York and Jersey. Another story, they're all from CBS News. Woman's body found on fire in alleyway near Chester Fine Arts Building. I have no clue where that is at. But these are like really creepy, disturbing stories. They should be for most people. I don't know. So, yeah. By the way, 2 more stories. It is after an hour of me talking, and I want to fit Matt's thing in. Because I didn't put an intro tonight, and it's still kind of long. Well, my intro is only a couple seconds. I saw this one on the Blaze. It says, former sheriff deputy sentenced to jail for sex with 16-year-old son of ex-boyfriend. Former sheriff's deputy. It's a woman. Yeah, she's sentenced to jail for having a sex with her ex-boyfriend's 16-year-old kid. That was on The Blaze, by the way. That was on September 25th, that story. Since I'm getting really long, I'm not going to read it. If you want to see something, this was something guy Fred at work, not Fred Norris, but a guy Fred at work, he told me about this story. He said, "Did you hear about the woman? She was just at a football game for her son." I thought it was like something else, like baseball or something. It was a football game for her son. And she decided, like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I think it's just it's crazy. This was also on The Blaze. So I found the story myself, and what they put this woman through for not wearing a mask, they tased her, and they put her in handcuffs, and they kind of really roughed her up. And the irony is, I want to use the word irony because the officer who gave her a hard time, it was a white woman, but was a black police officer. And they show the whole video. Somebody recorded the whole thing. I mean, there's not much you can do with a police officer. But it was really uncalled for, the way he treated her. And again, you can find that on The Blaze. Just look for a video, and it's titled Ohio Mother Arrested and Tased After Not Wearing a Mask at Son's Middle School Football Game Held Outside. So I felt really bad for that woman. So, okay, I've teased Matt enough, making him suffer through my stories. So here's the part that Matt has probably been waiting for all night, or, through my podcast. And before I do that, because I want to see what other people think if anybody else listens to me besides Matt, we had this discussion. Matt is trying to make some music. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. Matt, there's only like a handful of us, and it's usually me and you, maybe one other person who listens to us. Matt was asked could he make maybe possibly some music for a comedy horror somebody's making independently, I assume. But they're making a comedy horror film, and asked Matt, can you make some music? So Matt submitted one piece that I play at the end of all my shows that I really like. So Matt made another piece. It's called Mime, ending credits. So the person who's making the film really liked it, but they said, yeah, I don't know if this is going to fit what I'm looking for, but it's really good. So it's like, yeah, I liked it too. I'm going to play that right in a few seconds. And before I go into that, Matt, now remember, who is Ben Tramer? Who's Ben Tramer? That's your pop quiz question. So if you listen to the show, I did mention in the beginning, and don't look it up, because if you do, you're cheating, Matt. And you should know this. Who's Ben Tramer? So Matt made a song. It is called Mime, and there's a reason for that. But it's pretty damn good. So I want other people listening to that. I got to leave a little bit of a space, so I can go back and post and put this in, because I don't think it's going to pick up otherwise. So I'm going to play right now Matt's Mime. It should just start right up, but it's not going to go on my recording, so I got to go back and post and slap it in there that way. Here we go.